Welcome to Tea Time with me, Shaili Chopra. This episode has truly got a legend on the show, Roger Cleveland. That's right, the man who's been behind Cleveland Golf Clubs, also the one who decided to sell the company and then join Callaway by himself. So it's quite a story of Cleveland versus Cleveland because the company is owned in Japan and he's very much the name that everyone reckons with. But more importantly, he's evolved from being just an iron lover to one who loves the wedges, and he's created some good stuff there for Callaway, something we'll talk about, Roger Cleveland, and why you should have more than just one or two wedges in your golf set. Let's catch up then on Tea Time with Roger Cleveland.
When you have soft sand, when the sand is soft, you need more bounce.
Right.
Otherwise you'll dig. If you have hard, firm sand, you need less bounce because you need to get down to the ball.
In golfing news, Justin Rose wins WGC Cadillac Championship. George McNeil wins Puerto Rico Open. And golfing tip with Jesse Grewal.
The starting direction of your ball flight depends on the path of your club or your swing plane.
Thank you very much, Roger Cleveland, for being on our show. It's an honor to meet you.
It's a great pleasure.
And I'm sure every Indian who's watching this show actually probably is seeing you for the first time talk on Indian TV.
Well, that's a great pleasure, and I'm excited about that. That's fun.
I want to ask you, before I get into the story of Roger Cleveland, how is it to be part of Callaway and have Cleveland actually be owned by Japan? A Cleveland versus Cleveland story. I've always been fascinated by that.
Well, I didn't have to change the towels because the C and the C at Callaway, so my wife was very happy with that. It's sometimes a little strange when I see Cleveland on the television. I still am very happy and excited for them when they do well. I still have, when you create something and start something, you still have you still have blood in the company, and I feel like I do, so I care about that. But at one time when I sold it, and the gentleman running it wanted me out because we were kind of clashing on where the company was going. And the people here, Dick Helmstetter and Ely Callaway, called me and said, "Hey, come on down and take a look and see." And that was 15 years ago. So I've been very happy in doing what I love to do, and that's design all over, the wedges as well as irons and wood. So
and technology has evolved so much in the last decade and a half.
Absolutely.
That's true. But Cleveland golf, I suppose when it was your baby,
yep.
Was it hard to let it go?
Absolutely, yeah. But I went out, I needed to raise money to build infrastructure, to build engineering, to build, R&D. That Callaway had such a great one, and I was so impressed by what they were doing. I had to do the same, or tried to do the same, and that's what I was trying to do. And so the only way I could do it at the time was to sell the company. And I thought I sold it to a good group called Rossignol, and they were. But they brought in a guy that thought he knew everything and actually didn't.
I'm sure he's changed his mind since the time you got on to Callaway.
Well, he didn't last very much longer.
Yes, indeed true. But let's talk about the present times, which seem to be the good times for you as well.
Yep.
You're the authority on wedges across the world. Tell us a little bit about why does it take for people to be a little too confused about how many wedges they should have, which angles they should pick up, and what's ideal in a set which is a basic set, for example.
Well, the game is not easy. It takes a lot of individual effort and a lot of practice. But one of the areas that you can improve your game so easily and so quickly, it's hard to gain 20 yards on your drive. But you can really gain proficiency in your wedge if you take some lessons and get the right technique. You don't have to be very strong to have to be good around the greens, but you have to have the right technique. So lessons are very key, and the right equipment.
Do you think playing this particular shot is a little more complicated, largely one because it's a short game, and secondly that people who use irons tend to be very forceful with it, and this is exactly the opposite?
That's right. you have to, it's quite complicated because you have to read, when you're hitting a full shot, you don't read the type of, well, you have to read the lie and so forth and gauge your expectations. But around the greens, you have to, in the rough and so forth, you have to gauge and read the shot and determine which type of shot you want to hit to gain the result that you want based upon the lie and so forth. So it's quite complicated. And the way technology has gone and manufacturers across the board, we have gone stronger with the lofts of our irons. We're able to hit our irons higher, which is terrific, and it keeps the ball in the air for distance.
Right.
And so we have been able to strengthen the lofts. Okay. So that creates a bigger gap at the short end. So what do? So we really need to create more options for wedges. Okay. And what I like to see, if you're a strong player, you can go to a lob wedge, which is actually to 60 degrees. That's what most of the tour players use. But if you're strong, if you're not so strong, 60 is too much loft. Okay,
yes.
And even if you're older and getting older, what you want to do is set the limit like at 56. So what you do,
and start where? If the limit is 56, start at 52.
No, what you do is you take your pitching wedge. Okay, you take that loft, and then you take 56, for example, and the pitching wedge is, let's say, 46 degrees now. Yeah. So that's a 10 degree differential.
That's right.
And so
it's a good range.
You want three wedges. You take your pitching wedge, your 56, and get one in between.
Interesting.
Okay, so it's 5 degrees, and so you put one in between. Or if you want 4 wedges, some pros, if you want to tighten your gap between the wedges, then you take 4 and divide it by 3.
Right. So pros obviously need a large number of them. They want the variety. But you think that's a good idea even for the beginners? To get used to the idea that
you should definitely have 3 wedges.
Wow.
For sure, because the bunkers and the designs today, the modern designs, the lips are very high, and so you need a little bit more loft than the traditional. But your strength also. So if you're not so strong, 56. If you're stronger, you can go to 60 or 58. Now, up in Japan, they like 58 as their kind of their norm, their standard. Over here in this country, they tend to be a little bit bigger and stronger. They want 60, Europe 60, that sort of thing. But it depends upon, like Jeev Milkha Singh, he uses 60. Yes. Okay, but he's a strong lad.
He's a strong man. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But don't be, it's really also how far you can hit the full shot. So that determines.
Okay.
But that's how to do it. 3 is about what you want to look at. I'd love to have you have 5 wedges.
Yeah, I guess that's...
But Phil uses 4. Phil Mickelson uses 4 wedges, for example.
Though doesn't he have a 64?
64, absolutely. And he uses it a lot. But we offer a 64. But you really have to practice that because 64 is a lot of loft.
That's true, yeah. Maybe we can get a sense from you about how best to use some of the wedges that you design.
Sure,
yeah,
absolutely.
Let's try and get an idea of what we're doing now.
I think that's a real misunderstanding on how to hit some wedges.
Yes.
Because it's a different swing than your normal swing.
Yes.
And
does that evolve with every kind of club on the wedges list?
No, on the wedge list, it's more... When you get down to anywhere from 52, anywhere from pitching wedge to this, it's the same type of technique.
Okay.
And your loft determines how far you hit it. You use the bottom of the club. That is the key on short shots, is to use the bottom of the club. Gets it in orientation. Phil Mickelson.
Yeah.
He's probably the most creative person I've ever been with a wedge.